Martin Atkinson, I think, has got the red card out. Well, that didn't last long.
It's Payet! He's done it!
Own way of dealing with the situation. Maybe the fans are feeling something, and then the players can also feel that the fans are not weak there.
It's onside! Shaqiri! Oh, what a fantastic finish! On the feet around Old Trafford. Oh, goodness!
Hello and welcome. This is the first ever Straight Red, the podcast with cautions thrown to the wind, and instead we reach straight into the back pocket. You'll be joining us for a sort of multi-course footballing meal as we mix it up, shake it about, watch things bubble as it comes to the surface, and maybe we'll sit around and see what happens when it all settles. We're going to focus on the English Premier League, but not be limited or restricted to it, and just follow nature as it takes its course. So you can expect generous helpings of intelligent insight and razor-sharp wit served on a healthy bed of fresh banter, and then we'll drizzle it lightly with general buffoonery dressing. We're going to touch on what's past, then try to get our teeth into something a bit more meaty before washing it all down at the end with our Straight Red segment and a quick look at the potentially interesting upcoming matchups. I'm going to introduce the first team. With me are Wiz, Mo, Neil, and special guests, Cass and Matt. Thanks to you all. It's great to have you here. So why don't we kick off and get stuck in with a recap of the weekend's notable matchups in today's post-match presser. Right? The post-match presser. Here is where we take the opportunity to simultaneously become journalist, manager, player, and fan in one electric, no-holds-barred roundtable romp of the weekend's top action. Here's what went down in our four big games of the week. Hull City, newly promoted, beat Leicester, the reigning champions, 2-1. Arsenal lost at the Emirates 3-4 to Liverpool, while both Man United and City came away with wins against Bournemouth and Sunderland, respectively. What do you think about that, boys?
Whew, good weekend for Liverpool. Bad weekend for Wenger, that's for sure.
Yes, it was a great weekend for Liverpool. I know there are a couple Arsenal fans on here, so I just wanted to take the opportunity to say suck it to all of you. And I think the first match we should probably focus on is Leicester. And for me, I mean, honestly, no surprises there. I think Ranieri said it best. You know, they're going to be struggling to get 40 points this season. And I think if they can get 40 points and stay in the top flight, then that's a victory for that club. I mean, they've lost their best player, in my opinion, in Conte. And, you know, I think they felt that right off the bat. And, you know, his defensive presence was missed. Hull City pressed. They scored. They cut them up. And, I mean, at the end of the day, they won 2-1. So.
Yeah, and I think pretty much Vardy punching himself in the face pretty much explained the whole game for you. It was just a mess. There was no midfield at all. It was a struggle trying to get the ball up, and once they got it up, you know, there was no one to pass it to. Mahrez had trouble. Vardy had trouble. I think one of the best moves they've had was Musa. He's been doing pretty good out there. I was very surprised. Honestly, I would have taken him out of Arsenal. I don't know why Wenger didn't pick him up, but I think he's probably going to do really well going forward.
I mean, I think Leicester still has a long way to go in regards to maturing as a team. I think it's obviously too soon to say, but it's starting to show in regards to management, transfers, whatever Leicester has made, that maybe they're not ready just yet for Champions League and the Premier League and the FA Cup. It might be a bit too much. Let's see what happens. But looking at the initial squad, I don't know if they have the depth to go the long way.
Yeah, Cass, what do you think of the Man City game? The City fan.
I mean, I thought it started rather promising, a lot of possession, but there really wasn't much of an end product. They had to rely on a penalty and an own goal, so obviously that's a little bit concerning. I think that part of it you could blame maybe early season, not having gotten the drills in. A lot of people were on international break and came into camp late. No excuses, though. They came out with the win. I think that's really what's important at this stage of the season. But you have some concerns, especially with the fact that they didn't get the result in a very pleasing manner, which is typical of a Pep Guardiola team. So you look at that and you say, well, we'll see how they go from here. Today in the Champions League, they end up getting a 5-0 victory rather soundly, which is more typical of a Pep-type team and what we would expect from City. So, I would say wait. Maybe we'll see how they do this weekend against Stoke.
Do you think Man City's style would suit, or Pep's style would suit Man City? Historically, Man City has been more of a, with Aguero up top, a very attack-friendly team, right? And Pep's style hasn't really been. It's more like a pass around with a lot more midfielders. We saw at Barcelona, even at Bayern, they didn't really have like the talismanic attacker. Like he's going to have that with Aguero.
I would disagree and say Lewandowski is exactly that talismanic attacker, that number 9 that a team like City has right now with Aguero. I think that they can play to his strengths, and even today they showed a lot of promise with working with Nolito, or even on Saturday with De Bruyne and Sterling on the wings, and they getting the fullbacks forward. I think they can give Aguero a lot of service, and he'll have a lot of joy with that service. But it takes a finishing touch, and that really wasn't there on Saturday. I don't think that he'll struggle that long to find his form, though.
Yeah, and I mean, you're missing some key players from your lineup too, right? I mean, Gundogan was on the bench. I think as soon as he settles in, he offers an amazing dynamic to that midfield. He'll open up the wings even more. I contribute to the tiki-taka type of football that Pep is used to playing. I think you hit it on the head, man. Win was the most important component for your team this week. You got it. Today you slaughtered your Champions League opponent 5-0, more indicative, I think, of the type of outcome we expect to see from Man City. And I think as time goes on, I think as Stones meshes within the system, Gundogan comes on board, and we see Pep develop these players in Sterling and Nolito.
The general takeaway was successful teams win. They find a way to win. City, United, the whole City, okay. Leicester should have won. We saw the shanking that Vardy did, and that was not a signature, top winning side striker. They've had the preseason to prepare. They should have been on the ball against Hull City, and they should have won that game. But again, United came away with the win, and City did. So those are the hallmarks of successful teams.
Question: at what point do you start not listing Leicester as one of the big 4 matches of the week?
I think it's too early. I think it's too early. Look, they've got Arsenal next week, so that's probably going to be another big matchup. And let's see what happens and how they respond. Both teams, I guess.
I guess the question I have about Leicester is, how is it that one player leaving makes such a big difference? Was it really that last season the weight was all on Conte's shoulders, or was it just the fact that they lost that winning mentality when he left? You have a group of players that win together, and then one of them sees, well, I don't know if it's money or the prospect of winning the league with a different, bigger team. How does that change the dynamic, and at what point does that make you consider Leicester to not be a big team?
I think, I'm going to jump in, I think build-up from the back was a key part of Leicester's attack, right? You bypass the middle, get it straight to Vardy, it's no nonsense. When you can't get the ball out quick enough, not only are you unable to score, and your defending is hurt as well. So what do?
Another big part of it is, Leicester was a no-name team last season, Now everybody's seen what they can do, understand their gameplay. They know that most of the time they're going for the long ball over the top to Vardy, They're defending that well, and once you do that, Leicester's hasn't been ready to adapt yet. So we got to see how Leicester's going to adapt to the new game, how they're going to do with more games during the season now that they're in Champions League. So I kind of feel it's a little similar to Cass. I think in the long run they're probably going to drop off, and they're going to be less and less of an important factor each week. So I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more pressure on Leicester this year as well. So looking at their other players, the Mahrez has been in the news a lot over the past month were with links to Arsenal. Some saying his manager's trying to take him to move, or there's money issues. Like, who knows? But maybe he's not focused right now. So, and we saw last weekend or on Saturday, there wasn't really anything coming out of him either. So it was kind of a non-existent game for him. So maybe if after the window closes, he'll get back in the rhythm, if he's still with Leicester, of course. So
A lot of times you want to look at teams that what are they going to do in the next season. Every team that either wins the league or doesn't win the league, they strengthen because it's an arms race. So you want to see teams who bring in players to improve the areas that they were weak in the previous season. So Leicester, I'm looking at their roster right now. They brought in Mendy from Nice, Musa from Moscow. Those are the only guys I really know that well. Maybe Zieler from Hanover, the goalkeeper, but otherwise they haven't really brought in that many players. And right now, maybe the first game of the season is not going to make that big of a difference, but they lost a very important player in Conte. That can't be understated. He was a 32 million pound player. You don't replace him that easily with any of those guys. And on top of that, once the games start coming in, Champions League midweek, cup games, league games, you start falling off pretty quickly, especially when injuries start hitting you.
Yeah, I guess that's when the real test starts for
And
Leicester.
I look at other teams. So Liverpool strengthened, Arsenal have strengthened, maybe not as much as they need to yet, but they brought in some players. Chelsea have done so, City have done so, United have done so. They poured a lot of money in. So Leicester, they're going to have to up their game. Either the players on the roster have to do that, or the new guys have to do that.
I'll tell you what, though, I'm excited to see for Leicester, Musa. He's a pretty experienced guy coming from Russia. He's had Champions League experience. He knows what it takes, and being on like a bigger team, I think if Mahrez does leave or if he plays alongside Mahrez, there might be some experience on there that'll help the team out.
I think that's fair. How about we segue to the elephant in the room, Arsenal versus Liverpool. Arsenal lost 3-4 to Liverpool at the Emirates. And this is our big match of the week and also the subject of our ref report. Ref report. It's time for the ref report. It's all done for the week, and we've had a chance to let it all churn around for a bit. All the record-breaking transfers and hype was laid bare out on the grass for everyone to see. Manchester United, Manchester City and Liverpool all walking away with wins. As the only big club to vastly underspend yet again this season relative to its peers, this week I'd like to ask, what is the future of Arsenal? What today is the football world made of, and what are the key ingredients you need to thrive? How much does talent and ability matter? How much does team synergy matter? How much does management matter? What about money? What is the future of Arsenal? Kasra, what are your thoughts?
I think ultimately you do have to wait until the end of the transfer window to really make any definitive statements. It's important to remember that we still have a few weeks left. But if I were Wenger, the owners, alarm bells would be ringing right now. I'd be working around the clock. I want to secure the top talent available. Arsenal are still a big club. They have Champions League football to offer the players. They have an experienced manager. They have a star-studded roster. They have the tools to do really well in the league. They just need to strengthen. So I'm looking at them and also looking at the injury situation. This is a recurring situation for the team. So you want to bring guys in because, look, for most teams to win the league, you want to be a front runner. You don't want to be catching up from behind. And it's not many teams are built to catch teams from behind. And I don't see the big boys dropping that many points this year. Arsenal didn't have a great start, but they can't afford to lose much more from here going forward. So time is ticking. Longer term, it really questions what Arsene Wenger's future with the club is, since it is a contract year after this year. So we'll see what happens. But get to work, boys. Get some players. Make some moves.
Yeah, I think I'm going to piggyback on top of that. You can, as an Arsenal fan, you probably look at it in isolation and say, well, Leicester lost. They're supposed to be the champions, right? They were good enough to win it, but it doesn't work like that. So I think a lot of the criticism holds weight. And in the short term, what they do have to do is They've got to get back up. They lost to Liverpool, which is not a shame. Liverpool played outstanding. It was one of the best matchups of the week. As far as fluidity goes, as far as preparation, there were fewer holes in those two teams. Granted, Arsenal's hole was big, but the both teams were great. And short term, you get it together and you pull this. They've got enough players to perform against Leicester next week, and you just worry about that. Longer term, they've got to fix the back, whether that means somehow getting the midfield to link better with the defence, or it means getting new players. Whatever it is, they do need to fix that. And as far as Arsenal, the club and the management goes, it's hard to say. As an Arsenal fan, I just don't know. I'm obviously I'm still one of the defenders of Arsenal and Arsene, and only because I just don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We see what we see and we react to it as fans, and that's what we do. That's our job. That's all we can react to. If they want us to give us a better picture, then give us more information. So, how strong they have a campaign is somewhat out of their hands, similarly to how it was for Leicester last season. They had a lot of things fall in their place, and I feel like where Arsenal are right now, they're going to have to rely on a lot of stuff that's out of their hands, which isn't a good setup for a good run. So that's what I think.
Yeah, it kind of feels like Arsenal's always a season too late. We needed the center defensive midfielder last season, and we got 5 this season. And now we need defense. It just feels like we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait until next year to make the moves happen. There's been a lot of players that are available. Swansea had players available. Other teams have players available. Stones, we could have picked up Stones, but I get it. 50 million, 55 million is a lot. But at this point, there needs to be moves made. I'm not sure. Cass was saying there's still a lot of time left. I've been an Arsenal fan for long enough to kind of know if we're not making moves quick, it might be just one move at the end of the season. I don't see us making 3-4 picks at the end of the season to try to pick up a striker.
I don't even think you guys can anymore. I mean, like, one, all the players that you want are gone, and two, all the players that you would even want to bring to your club, they don't want to sign with you guys anymore either. I mean, like I said on our thread, you guys got B-listed, right? Mustafi dropped out of contention. He doesn't want to sign with Arsenal anymore. And now who are you looking at? I mean, you're looking at players from Ajax, Fenerbahce, all these random clubs and stuff, and it's like those aren't the types of names that I would associate with being a top target for Arsenal to pick up.
So that's not what I actually heard about the Mustafi deal, though. I heard that it was because they're trying to save money for a top center forward. That's why they're trying to save some of the budget for that.
But I think
not because he didn't want to go to Arsenal.
But I think Neil's trying to make the point that who's left to sign? What big name striker? What big name defender are you waiting for? Who's out there that's going to bring in that experience to take Arsenal to be the team that they should be? I mean, all credit to Leicester last season for winning the league, but Arsenal should have been there to pick up the slack of the big, top 4. When we talk about top 4, top 5 teams, Arsenal should have been there.
Going off of what Matt and Neil have been saying, we've left it too late. If we go to any club right now and say, hey, we're trying to sign a striker from you, what are they going to say? There's 2 weeks left in the transfer window, take our best striker. No, the price is going to go up. If a striker is being sold for $20 million and there's a 1 week left to for the window to close, the price is just doubled just because of the fact that they won't have time to recoup.
Yeah,
so it's a horrible strategy from Arsenal, from Arsene or management, whoever has made this decision to wait till the last minute and to see how things play out. It's not a good strategy. If you're trying to save money, a couple mil here and there, maybe, who knows, but overall, it is not a positive way to go.
But I mean, what I don't get is you take a player like Lacazette. He didn't play in the Euro. He wasn't even in the French squad. He's a big player because he scores a lot of goals in France, but why didn't they sign him before the Euro even started and get all that over with? Instead of dragging it out.
Because they don't want to pay for him. They don't want to pay the money that he's worth. And that's, I think, one of the other big problems that we see with Arsenal. It's a lack to adjust their spending structure to meet the needs, I think, of the modern football arena, right? I mean, they bet, what, 29 million pounds on Lacazette? That's child's play. I'm sorry. I mean, even I can admit that.
He's worth more than Xhaka, in my opinion. He's worth way more than him. They paid 30 million for him.
He's worth at least 50. Yeah. And I think beyond to understand that, I think every other club on this planet, in the Premier League, are wary of the fact that Lacazette is a top-tier striker. They will pay above 50 for him. And, Lyon are going to wait. And they'll sell it to the highest bidder, and Arsenal will not be the highest bidder. I guarantee that.
Not only that, but then you got, the players themselves. They're like, okay, all these players are going for double the money, and you got a team like Arsenal coming in trying to, they don't see my worth. They're not willing to spend on me, so why should I go there? Like I was saying, I'm sure we could have picked up Vardy if we threw a little bit more money at him. Make it irresistible. We kind of give him just enough to kind of pull him in, and that gave him enough room to where his coach can come in and convince him to stay.
But I mean, is that the player that's going to solve your problems? Is that the player who's after one great season, is he going to?
I see him being like RVP when he went to Man U. He was there for a year, made a big difference, won them the league, and I think Vardy could have done that for us. He's not long term, and the money would have spent on him is not money. I guess Arsenal doesn't want to spend on him that much because he's not a long term player. But
see, I don't necessarily think or believe that we need Lacazette or a huge Lukaku, or even we don't need a big name striker. And this is a point that I think some of the other commentators were making as well. It's Arsenal doesn't really need a huge big name striker. They've got a plethora of attackers. It's the fact that they need another goal scorer. Whether it's a 10 goal scorer, a 15 goal scorer, 20, 35, whatever. We need another option other than Giroud. We need to be able to add some variability, have some different methods to how we play the game, which is right now what we lack severely. So you can see that in the game that happened against Liverpool. Giroud wasn't there. What was our plan B? We put Alexis in the same position Giroud would have played, and they kept lobbing the ball to him like he was going to head the ball into the goal. It doesn't work. Our system is broken. So there's a flaw with our tactician.
I think Giroud is a good, strong, back-to-goal type center forward that can hold up play, link up play, make assists. But you need a guy, like you said, to change the look, like a Vardy who can come in, counterattack. He's very fast. He can complement the fast guys in the wing. And I do agree that not getting the same type of striker is important. So you got to get someone who complements or can change the shape of the team or the way the team can attack.
Yeah, and that was obvious. When France was playing, Griezmann was making runs off of Giroud. Giroud was dropping him the ball every time, easy shots. That's pretty much half the goals that France scored was 1-2 between him and Giroud.
And he's very good at that, and he needs someone that can benefit from that. Yeah.
We almost need a Chicharito.
Is that who you want?
I'm pretty sure you can still sign him.
I'll take him if he's getting sold for sub 20, sub 15. I'll take him. I'll throw him on the bench.
He's not gonna get sold for that little money.
He's an old guy now.
You'll get all the Mexican jersey sales. It's a good investment.
We've got the Japanese market covered because we signed some no-name Japanese striker. But now we need the Mexican market covered.
But what you said earlier was about not needing a striker. I actually agree with that entirely. I mean, if we as it is, we've got Giroud, we've got Danny Welbeck, who is probably the most injured striker on your team. I'm thinking about the future of the club. Giroud is certainly not the future of Arsenal, at least in that position. Welbeck, absolutely not either. He's inconsistent. He's unreliable. I think Lacazette or someone of that caliber gives you, the future. It gives you a long-term opportunity to solving a consistent problem that you guys have year in and year out, and that is a consistent striker up front who finishes in the final third. But I don't know who the ideal striker is at this moment. I think, Lacazette. I'm trying to think of who's even available at this point aside from Lacazette. Chicharito, who
What about
I
Boney?
don't really.
See, that's the thing. I don't think we need a big name striker. I would love to have a big name striker. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have a Aguero type player, sort of a Rooney type player, Rooney of his prime type player. But at the same time, I don't think we need that type of player. We just need someone that Wenger buys and says, hey, Giroud's not working in this game. Let me put in this guy, or switch up the style and let's see what works.
What
And
about Boney?
whether it's a tactician, well, even if it's Boney, like I have no problem with him. But it's the fact that from a management perspective, we don't change our tactics, and it's really frustrating as a fan, as a supporter to watch.
And when you say tactics, you mean like fielding tactics?
Yeah, absolutely. We stick to the same one guy, Giroud up front, and if Giroud is not playing, we'll try to switch it up with Walcott, Alexis. With the smaller teams, with the big teams, it's always the same process. We don't have the ability to have like a strong bench. When you look at, say, Chelsea, Man United, Man City, whoever, they can switch up different rotations. They can bring in different players and like feel a different side. We just don't do that. And what the few occasions that we do, you'll see it. It's like all over the news. Oh my God, Wenger like switched it up. He's finally arranging his teams. I've seen that happen, which is why are we so restrictive?
I like Walcott up front as much as I like when Fabregas played up front for Spain, which is not at all. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, you got to get a guy who's physical. Walcott's a good winger, and he did even well to redeem himself with that penalty miss with a nice finish in the game on Sunday, but he doesn't provide enough goals. And I could see if Welbeck could stay healthy, but that's a big if. You need a guy that can chip in at least 15 to 20 goals in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, Walcott came out and pretty much said, "Hey, I don't want to play up front. Play me on the side." So it's kind of obvious. He doesn't work well under pressure. And you saw it. He decided to take a PK. I don't know why he took the PK, and he missed it. It was an easy ball right to the keeper. I could have probably saved it. I don't think he's ready to handle that pressure yet. He's gotten a lot of opportunities, and he has not stepped up.
And I don't think his future with the club is very long, to be quite honest. I see Walcott getting offloaded. I don't think if he performs this season, I think he's gone. Maybe not in the winter, but I think next summer, that's it. His chapter at Arsenal is coming to an end.
I mean, after 10 years and 50 goals?
Yeah.
What kind of return are you looking for? I think he's getting paid on par with Sanchez, on par with Ozil. Like, that doesn't make sense if you have. I mean, you're investing in what at that point? Is it a question of, I don't know, maybe finding a replacement for him? And then you have the same question: who are you going to replace him with? Is it a question of, are you finding?
Already, I think Ox has been waiting too long to get his time to shine on the pitch, in my opinion. But
are they the same type of player, though? I don't necessarily think that they're interchangeable in that sense.
Well, yeah. But I mean,
I guess
is that a problem if you're not?
Yeah, go ahead.
So no, is that a problem if you replace Walcott with a different type of player? Are you going to rely on the same tactics that might not work, or do you want to look for something different in the midfield, give you a different option out wide? Maybe he's not as fast, doesn't have as much experience, but I don't know. The last couple of seasons we've seen him out there, he seems to be delivering at least a different option.
Yeah.
Do you guys have some of the thoughts about the ref report, future of Arsenal? Or you want to talk about the game specifically?
Where did it go wrong? Where did it go wrong?
I mean, because as far as I was watching, Arsenal looked very good in that first half. Very good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this because Neil is on this call, but Liverpool is a good team. Liverpool this year is a good team. However, the 4-3, a 4-3 to an Arsenal team that lacked center backs, wasn't playing the main striker.
Just list all the people they were missing.
Wasn't playing Ozil.
That's
Look,
fine.
We were, and the first game of the season, we weren't at our 100%, clearly. But the fact that Liverpool let 3 goals in, it begs to question: is Liverpool ready for the season?
Well, so as a Liverpool fan, I think we saw good, and I think we also saw bad. I think we saw the most recurring problem present itself once again on match day, which is our back line. I mean, Moreno, like, not only did he concede the penalty, he was also single-handedly responsible for allowing Walcott to get into position and put in their first goal. And that's a problem that's going to continue to present itself throughout the season unless Klopp decides to take action and, actually sign someone of a decent caliber.
So if you looked at the game, okay, Coutinho's goal from a free kick was given. It was a spot kick, a challenge, and Coutinho's deadly from that range. But all of the other goals came from an amazing counter-attack, which happened when the connection between the midfield and the defense broke down. So whether it was El Neni and Xhaka or whoever, that connection, the gap that was left between them two and the 2 youngsters at the back was so big. A team that had as much pace as Liverpool was always going to score. There was no way they were not going to score. What's going to happen when Liverpool come up against a team which have got a solid midfield and good defence? They could not penetrate. They could not penetrate at all. They wouldn't score unless you get a dead ball situation where Coutinho can score. There was nothing else. Every time they had the ball and went around the edges, in the first half where they were being held back, Arsenal were fine, letting them play around the edges. They couldn't get anything down the middle. All the shots were from outside the area. What are Liverpool going to do next week, or when they meet a team with a proper midfield and a proper defence?
Well, I mean, I think we saw what we saw with most teams in the first half of the first game of a season. We're talking about a couple new players on Liverpool who are coming in. Took a little bit of time for them to gel. It took a moment of brilliance for them to get motivated and, believe in themselves. And from what I understand, Klopp delivered an inspirational talk in halftime, which he's good at and which he'll continue to do throughout the course of the season. But I think as a Pool supporter, I'm encouraged to see a presence on the wing that we did not have in years past on both sides. I mean,
Mane was outstanding.
I know. And Wijnaldum, I also thought, he was connected to the Lallana goal. I thought he had great interplay with the other players. I mean, that is going to continue to be an area I think we exploit with all teams. I mean, if Mane can have the season I think we anticipated he would have when we signed him, I think he can deliver for us consistently against even strong opposition. I know Barca was a preseason game and that doesn't matter, but I mean, when all engines are running for Pool with the team that they have, I think they can be the deadliest team when it comes to striking in the Premier League. But the question is consistency. The question is whether or not they have the endurance to keep up Klopp's style of pressure and Klopp's style of play. Can we stay healthy? I think if those things gel, we can see Liverpool contend for a top 4 seed. But those are a lot of variables that need to go into place for us in the right way.
And then out of all the fixtures, I felt like both teams came out. They both came out and played, which was good to watch. You saw, United had a slow start, so did City. And you're just expecting, with these big names, you're just expecting fireworks, which we didn't get. But we knew that the Liverpool-Arsenal game was going to deliver, and it did.
It always does. It always does. Well, if I'm Arsenal, I do feel bad for the Gunners and Wenger in some cases. I think you guys all brought up good points. You had an injured squad that still managed to finish 1 goal behind a team that was, basically running on full steam. And had Walcott scored the penalty and had you guys gone up 2-0, we'll probably stop that match. That's the reality, and you were this close to achieving that. But that's not how it played out, and Arsenal will get healthy. I don't think we'll continue to see them lose to these big matches, and but I get it. It doesn't solve the greater dilemma. I think we talk about weekend.
So I'm going to pull it back, Neil, and what do you think then now, right, in this football environment, in this league, right? What does it take? What does it take to win it? What is it going to take? How many points? How many goals do you have to score? How many games do you have to not lose? What do you think? What's the shape of this season going to be, and what's the winning team going to look like?
Are we talking? Yeah, so we're talking about generally speaking.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I think we're going to see what we saw last year in terms of a low point total for the winning team at the end of this season. I mean, we've got probably the most contested Premier League season I've seen in my lifetime. There's more money in the Premier League than I've ever seen before. There are more top names. There are top coaches. I think that spells basically, I think number 1 and 2 goes probably to the Manchester clubs, if I have to be realistic. But I think 3 and 4 are going to be a toss-up between 5 teams, maybe 6, depending on how things pan out. So I see it. I see the winning team getting lower than 80 points, honestly, and I don't know what it takes. I think we'll see. Yeah. Go ahead, someone else.
Initially, I think I was going to disagree with you there, where I was thinking about this earlier as well as to what type of season is this going to become? Is this going to become like a very high point, like one of those crazy seasons where everyone's scoring a lot of games, there's like a lot of losses, or not a lot of losses or draws, whatever. But the more I think about it, all the big teams have new managers. They have a new squad, relatively new squads, new managers. I think it's going to be, agreeing with you, it's going to be a very low-scoring season. Or point-wise, it's going to be a very minimal point season because everyone's still in transition. Very much like last year where everyone was saying, this was Arsenal's year because apart from Arsenal, everyone was in transition. For the most part, Chelsea stumbled. Chelsea was pretty stable, but they stumbled. And Leicester, out of nowhere, came by and took the title. But this year, I think, again, no one really knows what's going to happen. We can say it's going to be a Manchester title, but, again, do they have the stability to be there? Who knows?
Yeah, I kind of think it's going to come down to who can finish games. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it just kind of, making sure you get those 3 points at the end of the day. Look at Chelsea this week. It wasn't pretty, but Costa was able to get that goal late in the game and gave them all 3 points. Leicester did the same thing last year. There's a lot of games where they should have tied. 95th minute, 96th minute, they're putting that goal in to give them those 3 points. And at the end of the season, those points add up,
Well, let me ask you, who are those teams with those 3 points, though, at the end of every match? I mean, who has the potential to take a 1-1, 2-2, 0-0 draw and change that to a victory for their club?
Yeah, I see that with Man City and Chelsea, honestly. I think they find ways to make it happen. It just you know the goal's coming. It's not a surprise to you. Where you look at Arsenal, it's always most of the times it's a struggle. It's usually the other way around, where we're attacking a lot, but you kind of know nothing's going to come out of it, and it's kind of disappointing. But that's what happens. We don't have someone there to finish it for you.
They do have the scrappy attackers, which a lot of the teams do lack. You have the Aguero, you have the Costa. They're there. Costa scored the 89th minute goal.
Yeah.
He's there for the full game, fighting through. That's the kind of attacker that very few teams have, and City and Chelsea are prime examples of what they can do when they have a scrappy fighter.
No one's going to say I didn't have a chance to do it. No one's going to acknowledge the fact that, Zlatan and Rooney and Martial are all on one team, and I feel like everybody's just...
I mean, I guess that's what everybody was, saying about the Chelsea squad in the mid-2000s when Mourinho first took over, was their ability to win 1-0 games, 2-1. That's what won them the title consistently. I don't think we're back to that point yet where it's going to be, one team that's consistently finishing games 1-0, getting back, coming back down from a draw and then getting back up and winning it in the last minute. But I do think what Sam made a really good point. you don't have a lot of those scrappy players on, I would say, most of the teams in the Premier League right now that are going to get you those late points.
And I'm just going to say, going back to Neil's statement about Ibra and Man United, I honestly think Ibra is only here for the Champions League. I think, in my opinion, Mourinho called him up and said, hey, you had your luck at PSG, you stayed there, you're getting old, come to me, I've won the Champions League, let's do it together. He has a proven record to get it done.
Are they going to do that for the team, or are they going to do that for themselves?
Of course. Has Mourinho done anything for the team? He's not a team guy. He's just
the players.
Man United, do you care at this point whether it's, I think you want results. I don't think it matters the motivation is coming
exactly.
from.
Yeah.
That's the biggest,
Man United will take anything they can get right now. I remember last season they're making fun of us for getting the FA Cup and the freaking Community Shield, and this year everybody, oh my God, we're so good. Look at these trophies.
I mean, the FA Cup does mean you're the best team in England, right? You play against all
2 years in a row, Matt. 2 years in a row.
Best team in all the land.
Back to back, baby.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Good stuff. So then we move on. We'll move on to the straight red.
Let's do it.
This is what you've all been waiting for. Who gets the early shower? Each one of us are going to go through and hand out our red cards to one of the players, referees, officials. It doesn't matter, throughout the weekend. Let's start with you, Cass. Who's going out?
Cass is not around yet.
Where is he gone?
Cass's phone is still dead.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll leave it for them.
I'm gonna.
Casper gets the red card.
Cass got red carded.
Cass gets the red. Oh man. First red.
The very first red card. Unbelievable. Guys, I'm gonna give my red card to none other than Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Wow.
Exactly. Almost. Absolute zero participation. If he had the ball, he got rid of it like it was a hot potato. I didn't see him dribble. If he shot, I didn't see a lot of it until his goal went in. And yet, he still scored. He's someone I used to look up to as someone special. Is he a has-been, or is he just super efficient? He gets my red card because he's not inspiring anymore to me.
What?
It just doesn't do anything for me at all.
He's not supposed to be the Ronaldo. He's not supposed to be a Ronaldo or a Messi. He's supposed to be a pure goal scorer.
Which will get you the points, but
and
he's not.
He has a good scoring record, but I think the thing is that. Yeah, the last 4 seasons he played in a league where he had no pressure. Now he's in a league where he has pressure, and he just gave the ball away. Okay, he got lucky. He got a good goal from.
He has tools to do it now too, and he has to rely on them.
He's surrounded by a bunch of tools. That's.
Calm down. Calm down.
Well,
we don't have Matt. Is Matt there? He is. Matt,
yeah.
Go on then. Dish out your red card.
Well, my favorite guy with the best accent, really, of anybody who's lived in an Anglophone country for 20 plus years. Has to go to Wenger. Nobody really understands anymore what he has in store for Arsenal. He's been around for a really long time, and we kind of hear the same story, maybe slightly different each season, same excuses, and I think people have stopped buying it. And I think, eventually, if he keeps repeating the same mistakes, no transfers, late transfers, lack of ambition, or whatever it is, I think that it's going to come down to him losing his job. So he gets my red card.
I think you touch on something that I had a thought about, right? And I believe, okay, I know I'm an Arsenal fan, but I believe impartially, I think that there's probably only one team that actually hates Arsenal, and let's say it's Spurs. But I think the rest of the league actually admire or at least understand what Arsenal and Arsenal are trying to do, trying to win the title in a beautiful way. They know it's stupid. They know it's foolish because it's not possible. But if they did it, I don't think there would be any kind of downplay on it. I think everybody would agree that it was great. It was good. Everyone's waiting for it to happen, and we get so close every year that it's just totally draining. It's completely exhausting to have faith in a club, in a system, or a team. And I get it. I understand why he gets the red card.
I mean, I guess.
Mo.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. He's idealistic, but at some point something's got to give.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see him getting fired though. He's doing everything that he needs to do for the investors. They're making money. They're happy. Unless the fans fully turn out and turn on, and just decide not to buy any more jerseys. They're still buying jerseys, and they're still going to the games for ridiculous prices. So I don't think he will lose his job. I think it's going to come down to him kind of realizing that he's not doing it anymore. And that's why he's kind of been waiting to sign his contract. He hasn't signed it yet. I guess he's trying to prove himself, and if he doesn't, we'll see what happens. But
yeah, I think he'll know when he's run out of steam or when he's run out of ideas. I think he knows very well when his time is up.
Well, I don't think my red card means he's going to get fired, but if that helps the process, why not?
Mo.
My turn. I think I've been talking to you guys for a while, and I love this guy. I've loved him for a long time. I have his jersey, but he's just been frustrating me, and I got to give my red card to Walcott.
I can't believe it.
Yes.
I can't believe it. I cannot. I can't believe it, man.
Send him to Aston Villa.
Yeah. Send him wherever, but he's just. We're paying a whole lot of money for him, and if I was in Sanchez's shoes or Ozil's shoe, sitting here again, paid the same money as a guy who has not produced anything in the last 2 to 3 years. Yes, he was great at one point. He has a lot of skills, but he hasn't been showing it. He's gotten opportunities. He scored a goal. It wasn't pretty. I think it took a little bit of luck, but at the end of the day, when he gets the ball, he doesn't know what to do with it. And to be at that level, getting paid as much as he is, I think he's either got to produce or I think it's his time to go. Honestly, I would put Ox in his place. I know they're not the same kind of player, but you saw Ox. He went ahead and scored one of the prettiest goals of the weekend. He went past 2 guys and ripped a shot. I did not see that at Walcott. I think the shot Walcott took was more as a swipe at it, and it went in. And just because of that, I think he deserves the red card.
Do you think it's a confidence thing?
I think a lot of it's confidence. You got the opportunity to lead your team. You got the opportunity to be the striker on your team and go make things happen and score. And you're sitting here telling the media that, hey, I don't want to play this position. I'd rather play on the wing because I think I can produce more on the wing. And then you put him on the wing, and it's pretty much the same thing. Ox doesn't do a lot of talking, and he just went out there and played and scored, and he let the game do the work. I think Walcott, he's too involved with the media. He's not focused enough on the game, and that's what's hurting him. I would give it to Jack too, honestly. He's involved with the media too, and a lot of the good players focus on the game. You don't see Sanchez or Ozil going out there and doing a lot of talking. They just go out there and play, and that's it.
What do you think about, let's say, bringing in a very high-priced striker with a known ability, let's say he is not of a Messi level. Let's say he's maybe Lacazette or slightly less. And this is not just for Arsenal. It can be any team. Let's say you bring a player in, and this season has seen some incredibly inflated prices, right? So you brought in a player last season who was top of the game. They performed really, really well. They're on their salary. They negotiate it for 3 years. Then you bring in a new player, and his price is 3 times what it would have been last year. His ability hasn't changed. So you touched on Ozil and how he might feel if Walcott's on £140,000 a week or whatever it is. What's going to happen now when you sign players who are so expensive they don't perform, and the players who are great are getting paid less? What does that have any effect on the team at all? Or
And I think a big part of it is you got to incentivize this payout. It can't just be, hey, you're going to get your salary no matter what. If you're not producing, you're not going to be making your full salary.
It's a performance-based pay.
Yeah. Walcott can make $140,000 a week, if he's able to produce for $140,000. If not, you get paid a lower price. And that's Sanchez and Ozil have been doing it, so they're going to get their money, And for the players that want to improve, they're going to go out there and do better so they can get paid more.
How about you negotiate your deal, and at the end of the year, right, you either have to pay it back like taxes, depending on your lack of performance, or you get a bonus.
Yeah. I think something like that could work. It just it's going to be tough to convince players when other teams are getting paid straight out.
I think you would see the second Brexit take place. If you did that. That's what I think.
Honestly, it's better than what we're doing right now. We're stagnant, and it's hurting Arsenal. It's hurting the fans. It's even hurting the players. I don't want to sit here and hear Sanchez and Ozil saying, "Hey, we might leave." Sanchez saying there's a deal for Juve out there. That's an option. There shouldn't be an option. You should be die hard to your team and saying, "Hey, I'm sticking here." So if we're producing, these players are not going to want to leave.
And then also, I say quickly, I think a new signing, we've seen it before. It boosts the team, it lifts the team, and it gives them drive. So maybe a new signing isn't just about having a striker that fills a hole, but it'll lift the morale.
Yeah, and it'll help take some of the pressure off too. A lot of Ozil now has a lot of expectation on his shoulder. He's got to go out there and put 20 assists again, and if he doesn't, there's going to be a lot of criticism on his part. If you have someone out there that's putting some goals away, some of that pressure is going to be taken off of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my straight red.
Neil.
Man, I had a time coming up. I have 2 that I wanted to give. One of them, and I touched on a little bit earlier. As a Pool fan, my straight red goes to Moreno. I mean, if we were getting the tackle on Walcott, I mean, it was just, it was horrendous. I mean, I think, he completely missed the ball, and he slashed up, and he took him out. I mean, it was a dangerous tackle. It was a sloppy tackle, and thank goodness that he got lucky and he got thrown a bone that. Walcott stepped up and took a shite penalty. Even that's great, but I mean, lo and behold, like 5 minutes later, what happens? Liverpool lose the ball on the counter, and who is 50 meters up the field and nowhere to be found where Walcott is in the box?
He's a liability. Every player has him.
It happens every game. It happens every single game, not just this one. This is one that stuck out, but I'm just saying, he has a problem defending. He prioritizes pushing the ball up while neglecting his primary role as a defender, and for that reason, he gets my red card. I also wanted to give Hope Solo a red card, even though she's not in the Premier League.
What was she talking about?
I don't know.
What is she talking about?
The whole country is building as a soccer player and disrespect the mecca of the sport. I also, it blows my mind. Like, it seriously blows my mind. Like how uncultured some soccer players can be.
Now, is it what she said, Neil? The way she said it? Who she said it to? What in particular?
You know, I don't know how to answer that question because I think it's all three. You know, I think that you just don't disrespect the country, a culture. You don't do that. That's a big fat no. And then what she said after their loss to Sweden. I mean, like zero class, right? I mean,
Yeah,
no class
absolutely,
whatsoever.
absolutely.
That's another C word you should not be using.
Well-executed match that was based on tactics and smart football cowardly. That's not. There's just no class in doing that. And I think when you're a player of her caliber, like there's no doubt that the United States soccer team for the women are the best team in the world. I mean that is a fact. You are a leading example for women across the world, in my opinion, and an example, especially in an era when we're talking about pay inequality and the rising image of women's international soccer across the world. Like you lead by example, and that was
they're ambassadors of the sport. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah. No objection from me. Wes.
All right, my straight red is actually the same as Matt's.
Oh.
Arsene Wenger. What is he doing over there?
Huh?
My points are simple. The season starts when it starts. The transfer window closes when it closes. There's a reason the season starts early is because you can test your players out, you can get them going. If you need backups, you can say someone gets injured after the season, you can make a quick pickup. Wenger's season starts after the window closes. It doesn't make any sense. We're ill-prepared. As fans, we're waiting 2 weeks after the season starts to say, okay, hopefully we can buy someone so we can at least start challenging. And right now, look what happened. We've lost our first game, and we're already playing catch-up. It's already going to be quite possibly one of the most difficult seasons in the Premier League in a while, and Wenger has been making it easy. And I'm saying Wenger specifically because we don't know what is cooking in the boardroom, who's behind the decisions, whatever, but he is the face of the team, he is the manager, it goes straight to him.
What are the... It's hard to break this down, like you said, but why does this happen every year? He's obviously an intelligent person, he's a good manager, right? So he's... The things that we're talking about, he's very aware of. You need to get someone in early, you get them in preseason. He knows the value of getting the team playing together, right? So why does this happen?
So, it's like a couple of years ago, sorry, Mo. A couple of years ago, he started off with saying it was financial fair play, the UEFA regulation.
Sure.
Then before that, it was paying off the stadium. Stadium's been paid off. We've got a new Puma contract. We get like $30 million a year for the contract alone. What else happens? We're one of the highest revenue-generating clubs. What else is going on with the money?
I honestly don't know. I don't know.
So one quick question. So if we did get Vardy, would you be giving him the red card right now? If Vardy did come through and
because he would have done something. He would have done something. Yeah.
Pick a crappy player. I'm not saying like you have to get the most expensive player. I'm not saying pull a Man United and get a bunch of absurdly priced players and stack up your team. I'm just saying give supporters, give your team some hope.
Intent. You're looking for intent.
I'm looking for ambition, intent. You're the manager of a club. You need to You're a colonel of an army. You're trying to rally your troops, saying, "We're gonna win this fight." What does he do? Let's like hide out and let's see what the other people are doing. Then jump the other bush.
It just certainly seems like that. I just don't know if it is, but it certainly seems like that.
For me, I think when I look at Arsenal, like good for you to join, Cass. By the way, I'm glad you're back in this.
Yeah, guys, I had some technical difficulties.
Just drinking his water like nothing. Nothing happened.
I won't get into details.
I think one of the things that I have trouble most when I look at Arsenal is, I'll admit it. I think what you said earlier, Deepak, was right. I think regardless of if you're an Arsenal fan or not, I think there is a certain degree of respect for the club, what it's been able to accomplish, but at the same time, it's one of the clubs that has the most confusing purpose and identity for me in the Premier League, right? I mean, what is Arsenal? And, is it a club that is meant to generate money?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe. Is it a club that's meant to qualify in the top 4 every year? Or is it a club that's supposed to contend and win titles? And I think for fans, you expect the last answer I gave. You expect titles. And I do. I mean, with the money that they raise, the reputation of the club, the type of players and that they've been able to generate in the last decade and a half, I mean, that's what should be the expectation, in my opinion, for every single fan and every single person associated with that club. Then the question becomes, are they meeting those standards? And I think we're starting to see the answer, which is no, in my opinion.
Neil, I think you touch on a good point. And as a player, you get paid, right? And you get free shoes and jerseys. And as a manager, you get paid, right? What do we get as fans? All we get are bragging rights. That's all we get, right? We go every week, we buy all the gear, we watch it on TV. So, that's what we're owed. We're owed bragging rights, and the only way to do that is if you win trophies.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay.
And just one last thing, that Arsenal isn't London. You look at every capital. You look at France. You look at Spain. You look at England. We are quite possibly in London, the biggest club in London. Yeah. Chelsea's a big club. Blah, 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 blah. I get it. Chelsea's a big club. I get it. But the fact is,
does the capital have anything to do with it?
The fact is, we have been historically a premier club in London, but we don't have that quality anymore to back that up, and we're lacking that. We need to up our game.
The luster has gone. The shine is not as bright. That's for sure.
We're getting shown up by Russian billionaires with their fake oil money, whatever, to buy up clubs, and it's just. We used to be, at one point, one of the classiest clubs. Right now, we're counting pennies.
All right, I'm going to call on Arsene Wenger. I can't take it anymore. Cass.
All right.
Please give me your red card of the week.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say Wenger gets the red card.
Oh, you're kidding me.
This is the time. It's mutiny. Arsenal's done.
Look, love the man. He's a great soccer, football mind, but he had all offseason to prep his team, yet the team is facing the same start-to-season problems that they have the last few seasons. Yet we talk about, he provided us with the Invincibles. He was the first to really challenge Man United in the league. How long ago was that? You're looking at a guy that he's resting on his laurels. He won 2 FA Cups recently, and that's supposed to get him off the hook. I mean, for me, that's probably not enough. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of people associate a total football, beautiful football, possession football with Arsenal. But when was the last time it was truly beautiful outside of maybe that one Wilshere goal last season? If you're not getting that, at the very least you should be angry. Because, look, either the players aren't healthy enough to play that kind of football, you're not bringing the right type of players to play that football, or a team like Liverpool is coming and icing you at home. It's embarrassing. I mean, that's the bottom line. 8-2 against Man U 4 or 5 seasons back, you can't have stuff like that. And it seems like a team that can experience that a few times each season, that's not cutting it, and in my opinion. And
Matt, Cass, you know what it could also be is that there was a shift. There was a shift in the play last season between possession football all the way down to counter-attacking and moving the ball right through midfield. So maybe there isn't any room for beautiful football and win. They're just not there anymore in this league.
Teams can play. I would say that teams have won the league with beautiful football. Chelsea won it with over 100 goals in 2010. City won it with almost the same number of goals in 2014 under Pellegrini. You can play beautiful football and win the league. It doesn't have to be Chelsea of 2005 with the only 15 goals allowed, but maybe 60 goals scored, 70 goals scored. You can do it that way. You can do it the other way. I just think that Arsenal, to play to their identity, they need to bring in the right type of players to complement the team. And unfortunately, whether it's the board, whether it's Arsene, he's the face of the club, and he has to face the music. He has to face the the crowd, the audience, the fans.
I mean, at a certain point, he should take the responsibility.
Yep.
And look, if it is the board that's keeping him from doing what he needs to do, he should come out and say, listen, I won't put up with this. I won't say do it in the middle of the season. He should see this season out, but he shouldn't put up with being toyed around or, given the short end of the stick, because he deserves better than that. The fans deserve better than that. And if the board doesn't want it, well, he can tell them to screw off. I think that if they really want someone that is their puppet, they can go get somebody else. They can get themselves like one of these kind of almost pseudo big name managers that does anything for the board. Wenger is his own identity. I mean, he built that club up to what they are now, so he deserves better than that, if that's what it is.
That's a very fair point. Yeah.
I think it's a multiple things that on many ends. It's a lot of variables that go into it, but I still haven't seen the same magic that he used to provide. That even like 4, 5, 6 seasons ago, the team had, like in 2008, 2009, they were doing really well, and then it slid towards the end of the season, and they let it go. 2011, 2012, I believe, same. No, maybe it was the season before that, with Van Persie was hitting his hot streak. So, and then 2012, 2013, I think it was the same situation. One of those seasons, but unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to be there. The magic's kind of gone for me, and it's sad. But that happens sometimes. People get old, they change, they don't have it anymore.
I think he still had he had the opportunity to go and coach for England. So he could have taken that if he was having issues with investors or he's being controlled too much. So he's still there. So I think it's more on him. I think he's becoming the old grandpa that you love, but he's kind of losing a little bit.
One of my worries is that when Wenger leaves, whether it's rumored to be this season or after the season, whatever, but when he does leave, he's going to leave Arsenal and the team in such a shape where any new manager comes in, they have to do a complete upheaval of players, of managers, or organization. I don't think we have it set up where, for example, Alex Ferguson, he set it up saying, hey, boys, at the time, it was seemed to be like a good decision, right? He walked him in, he said, I've pretty much set up this chair for you to sit down, take the lead. But I don't think Wenger is setting it up in any way where the club can continue being a top 4 team,
But I don't even think the club need a major overhaul in their style of play. I think the recipe for beautiful football, I think it's there. I think Wenger has developed that, but what I see is the rest of the league upgrading all around them. Whether that's through different styles of coaching, bringing in players of top caliber, spending money. Their competition is improved, and Arsene, he hasn't elevated his players to the level of competition that's now existing in the Premier League. And
they just brought in Xhaka. That's all they brought in. And
that's
Rob
it.
Holding,
That's all it is.
Why did you start Rob Holding the first game of the season? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, had they brought in, some of the players that were linked with them throughout the summer, I think we would have seen a totally different outcome, in game 1 and for the rest of the season. They just need to continue to bring in those top caliber players to execute his game plan. And they're going to still be a top 2 club every single season, but they refuse to spend the money. And I just don't understand how that's still happening. But
look, you can look at it. You can look at it a little bit more realistic fashion. Okay, they had a lot of players injured and out. So Gabriel, Koscielny wasn't playing.
Right.
Ozil wasn't playing. Giroud wasn't playing. That's fine and all, but some of these guys, they knew they were going to be out for international duty. I still think you need to sign more than just Granit Xhaka in the offseason. Whether or not you had these injuries, and you have to address certain things. And I think that if you're looking at as a fan, what they were saying about intent, it's hard to see intent behind any of those things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm calling final whistle. That's it. Thank you so much. On that note, we've run out of time on the first ever Straight Red. It's been thrilling, entertaining, and a lot of fun. But now we're all going to swap shirts and have a brawl walking down the tunnel. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Please do all the liking and commenting and sharing stuff. It's much appreciated. Until next time, then, you think it's all over? Well, it is now. Cheers.